Live from Detroit, it's the Lowdown on Motown Sports Podcast with your hosts, Dane Williams, Junko Bodie, and Bob Daniele. If you're looking for the best present to take to your mother-in-law's birthday party, you're in the wrong place, dude. We talk Michigan sports here. It's real, it's raw, and there are no punches pulled. What happens when you put a gambler, a rocket scientist, and a radio jock in the same room? Well, we're all about to find out, and it probably won't be pretty. But whatever happens, it will be lively. So grab a brew, sit yourself in your favorite rocker, and take notes if you're some kind of nutcase. The boys are back in town and talking about the stuff that matters, Motown sports. So let's get to it, people. Here's the host of today's show, Rockin' Robert Daniele.
What up? It's the Lowdown on Motown Sports Podcast. Welcome. We're here to offer comfort and support after a rough football weekend for our Wolverines and our Lions faithful. So never fear, we are here. I'm Bob Daniele here with Blue Dane Williams and Junko Bodie. Fellas, hard to be happy after Michigan lost to Oklahoma 24-13 and the Lions lose to Green Bay 27-13. We'll get into that later, but right now, let's get into Michigan. I'm reminded of that Foreigner song, Blue Morning, Blue Day. And today we have a Blue Dane, my brother. We know you bleed maize and blue. So Junko tells me that you have a few adjectives that you want to just share with us, and maybe Junko has a few, but Dane, I'll turn the floor over to you first.
Yeah, I thought it might be interesting to come up with some words to describe what we saw Saturday night. But, I also thought maybe we should talk about Michigan and Detroit together because the scores are almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
O-line was about the same in the play. There's a lot of similarities between the two teams. But anyway, I thought we should maybe look back on what we were talking, what we said last week about the game.
Do we have to?
So it was kind of interesting, yeah. So our projections on the scores were me 27-24, Junko 27-24, and Bob 24-21. And I said there were three things: minimize mistakes, which they pretty much did, pressure on the quarterback, which didn't happen, and they needed to run close to 200 yards. Didn't happen. Now, Junko was a little more out there. He said Bryce is going to throw for 300 yards. And he actually said, they will win this game. It rushed for 150. Not quite. And then Bryce, I guarantee Bryce will run the ball. I think it was one designed run play and another one he was running for his life.
Well, I was going on based that on that we had a competent coaching staff, but apparently we don't. So.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. And is it ironic, guys, too, that both the Lions and the Wolverines both scored 13 points? The unlucky 13, both
exactly.
of them?
I know.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But I was sitting around thinking about the game, and I did come up with three words that sort of expresses my feelings about the game. The first one is subjugated, and that's to bring under control or to make submissive.
Google.
And I really thought that Oklahoma subjugated us because they certainly brought us under control and almost made us submissive to them, especially that D line of theirs. I guess defense as a whole. I mean, they had that offensive line on its heels all night, and really we had no idea what was going on. I think Oklahoma knew exactly what we were going to run, and that brings me to my second one, which is predictable. Watching that game, I'm watching them line up, and I turned to my wife and I said, "Hey, this is going to be a run." And lo and behold, it was a run. Now, you think Oklahoma didn't know that too, or at least thought it? And they were all over it. And it was, it was just crazy. And the last one is perplexity. Perplexity is bewildered or confused. And that was our O-line, and that was our coaching staff. I mean, if you saw Moore over on the sideline, he looked like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to keep playing conservative, which is something else we'll talk about in a little bit. Junko, what do you think?
Wow, subjugated. Wow, I
By the way, I think
didn't see that one
subjugation
coming.
is illegal in Florida, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right along with flagellation, but we can talk about that later, right? Okay, so disappointed was my adjective. Coaches didn't have a better approach. I was very disappointed by that. My second adjective was disappointed that we missed tackles and missed big play opportunities. And my third one was also disappointed that we looked scared out there. They looked like the aggressor. We looked like we were on defense from the moment we came out of the tunnel. And you mentioned Sharon Moore, Dane, and how he looked. He came out of the tunnel blowing kisses to the crowd. He plays like a lot of times he's like a player more than a coach. He's he's doing things that you would see a player do, not necessarily a high profile coach. I was disappointed by how he prepared, how he performed, and how even he expressed his disappointment at the outcome of the game in the press conference. Right? It's like, we just got to get better.
We just got to get better.
Yeah. No kidding.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah.
Thanks for the insight.
Better. Right. How about telling us what you're doing to get better? Right. So my word of the day, my adjective of the day was disappointed.
Okay. I'll throw in overwhelmed and conservative. They didn't need, like I said, if you've got a Ferrari like Bryce Underwood, why are you putting him on the test track at Disney World? It's just really you're containing him, and maybe they were just trying to let him out slowly. But I mean, what was it, 142 yards total for Underwood
passing?
Yeah, passing.
I think I heard Ryan Van Bergen say in his podcast that they treated Bryce Underwood like he was Cade McNamara with the game plan, right? I thought that was a very good analogy. If you're going to go out and you're going to spend all that money on Bryce Underwood, let him be Bryce Underwood, right? Don't try to turn him into, the first year JJ McCarthy, where they would let JJ throw the deep ball, right?
Almost.
Jerome Moore's got to open up. He's got to get over this. Smash is great. It's great to have a running team identity, but you guys are bad mouthing the offensive line. They had no chance. Oklahoma had 9 or 10 guys at the line of scrimmage. Their linebackers were there. They had a couple safeties up there. Well, they only got 5 linemen, right? It's those you got to make them pay for those mistakes.
Overwhelmed they were.
Yeah.
Hey, a little insight into that, though. Sharon Moore said it in the preseason, and then he said it again during his press conference yesterday. He says, if you're going to run your quarterback, you better have 2. So he's scared. He doesn't think we have a good backup. He may be right. And he is scared to death that if we lose Bryce, the season is done for. And I think that's his philosophy is, I'm not going to run him because if he goes down, we don't have a second guy to come in.
I would ask you on that one, Dane, how would Oklahoma have fared in this game if they'd taken the same approach?
Yeah,
Mateer
exactly.
ran what 9 times?
In
key moments, in short yardage situations.
Leading rusher for him, he had 74 yards. Yeah,
there you go. And they don't have a great backup.
No.
So I mean, these games all matter. You can't say, "Well, I got to save him for the next game." And sacrifice the game that you're playing, which is what's going on.
Especially against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Mateer's pretty good, though. I mean,
he is.
He's pretty good.
And Bryce is pretty good if they let him.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but the point is they let him run, right? And he's all they got.
So we knew that this would be a tough game, right? Michigan fans, all of us seem to be more irritated maybe than we should be. I mean, we were to expect that it was going to be, this was going to be a tougher game than the one the week before. But what went wrong? What was expected? And how much was on the coaching staff? Dane, you can go first on that one.
Yeah, I think we talked about already, but their play calling was just so conservative. And there were a few instances, I think they were down on Oklahoma. They were in Oklahoma territory a number of times, 4th and short. they're down. Let's punt. They were like at the, I don't know, 38-yard line. Zavada at least could have tried, a 55-yard field goal. He's pretty damn good. I know he missed that one, but they punt. Oh, we're going to put him back deep. Well, no, you put it in the end zone and it was a net 18 yards or something. I mean, on that play. So, and then there were a couple others where we're behind by at least 8 or 11 at a time. And we're in there. We're on the other side of the field. It's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, maybe, or maybe the one was 4th and 6. Hey, you got to go for it. You got to try. What do you have to lose? So no, we're gonna, kick field goals, which didn't do anything. So overall, just the coaching philosophy on this thing with Bryce, with everything, was just way too conservative. They weren't ready for that Oklahoma defense, even though people, everywhere is talking about the Oklahoma defense, how tough they were going to be. They weren't ready for it. So, Junko, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you, Dane. I think Venables really outcoached Chip in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even close. And it's like they knew our formations. They knew, you were saying, well, why wouldn't Bryce just take a 2-step drop and start throwing slants? Well, because the formation gave away the fact that we were going to throw. That's why, it wasn't like, it was a total outcoached job for sure. And I got to say that Mateer was better than I thought he would be in this game, even though they picked him off once, and they should have picked him off 2 or 3 times. He threw the ball up a couple times and got breaks, right?
Yeah,
and we'll talk about some of the other things that happened in the game, in the coming comments here. But I think injuries hurt us too. I think they really missed Klein.
Definitely.
I think, that was just he was their leading receiver the week before, and the security blanket for Bryce. And Bryce didn't have him in a game when he needed a security blanket. And I don't know.
Not having Jay Sean too in that first half, I think that hurt us.
And then El Hadi got hurt early on. There were other guys, right?
Zeke Berry.
Yeah, Zeke Berry. Although I got to tell you, I didn't think the secondary played good with or without him.
Yeah.
So here's the thing too: is that we respected Oklahoma's ability to pass, but they didn't respect ours, and we didn't make them pay for that. And that's the part that bothers me the most, is that they stuck it in our face and we took it. And that's not Michigan football.
Yeah. Well, our old friend Jimmy Johnson once said that football is not about the X's and O's, but rather, Junko, finish it off.
The Jimmies and Joes.
Jimmies and Joes. So tell me there, how did our Jimmies and Joes do for Michigan in this game?
I got to tell you, I was pretty disappointed with the play of some guys. I mean, they said, I think you were asking me at one point to say, pick somebody who played positively, and I looked around, and I didn't find anybody, so I'm not going to give any positive. Maybe Haynes. Maybe Haynes. I thought maybe he played well and ran hard. And I got to say that the catch made by McCauley was quite a great catch, but he had so many other errors that they were offsetting. So. But the guys who I thought really did not play well, Ernie Hausman. It's 4th and 1 in the first half. Big play. Michigan's got an opportunity to get off the field. Everybody in the stadium knows that Mateer is probably going to run the football, and Ernie Hausman is 5 yards off the ball, and the ball is snapped. The center just goes out and blocks him because he had, gave him such a great angle to get to him. Ernie never got close to Mateer, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why is Ernie Hausman 5 yards off the ball? I don't know if that's bad coaching by Wink or if that's just Hausman standing there making, being very indecisive in his play. I thought that I watched him do that 2 or 3 times during the game. He's a captain, right? That's not the type of play I see from captains at Michigan. Brandon Hillman, right? How many tackles did Brandon Hillman miss in that game? Must have been 5 or 6, and 2 of them were huge.
Yeah.
Right. He missed them on that quarterback sack,
potential sack,
which almost went for a touchdown after he missed the tackle. Right. Yeah. That's a 3rd or 4th down play. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Greg Crippen, God, was he awful at center.
He got blown up big time.
I never saw a center get pushed around the way he got pushed around.
on his butt. I mean, it was
terrible.
crazy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And again, this is not a young player. This is a last year player, a fifth year player. Come
Leader
on,
of that
man.
offensive
Be
line,
better
supposedly.
than that. Right. If that's the best we got. By the way, Dom Gadis, I don't know if you guys saw this, our center last year, who Crippen supposedly beat out in game 2, was named SEC Lineman of the Week this week.
I didn't see that. Oh, beautiful.
Dane,
how about that?
Another
Got
mark
any names?
against the coaching staff. I do. I mean, I think I agree with, Haynes. I think, 125 yards. Yeah, 75 of it.
75
on one play. I mean, if you take away that 75-yard run, I think we only averaged, 2.3 yards per carry between him and Marshall, basically. Underwood, I think I still have to give Underwood credit for what he was given, what he was told he couldn't do, the limitations on him. He still, when he rolled out, he made some nice throws. In that first half, he made some nice throws. Second half, he struggled a little more, but they were all over him the whole time. And McCulley's catch, I thought, was just fantastic. And that,
Yeah,
but then,
it was.
like Junko says, I mean, there was one play where McCulley's going out and miscommunication with Underwood again. They've got to fix some of this miscommunication, but Underwood throws it towards the pylon, and McCulley, breaks to the right. He's wide open, but he's nowhere near the ball.
That was bad.
Excuse me. So that was crazy. And so one of my fails is wide receiver miscommunication with Underwood or missing blocks. Some of those throws where he just, threw it out to running back or threw it out to the receiver, those other receivers have to block. They have to block if that guy's going to be able to run anywhere. And they were running right past their blocks, and these are guys coming up and just blowing it up.
Well, yeah, about that though, you can't run tunnel screens when you got everybody standing at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
that's something I thought we learned last year, but apparently not.
I didn't like any of those calls. It was horrible. And then, but first and foremost, I say I put a lot of this on the coaching staff. So hopefully they're going to learn from this, and we'll move forward.
Okay. Hey, you guys make anything of that the Haynes and Underwood scuffle on the sideline there? Just emotions getting out of control?
I heard
I
heard it was a miscommunication.
Okay.
But they're over. I didn't hear the details. I don't think they'll ever give us the details.
No.
If things are going badly and you're not fighting a little bit, then you're not trying hard enough. That's my opinion.
True. Yeah, there's got to be some emotion, or else you don't belong on the field.
Yeah.
Hey, so Junko, what about that Wolverine defense? Now, last week and really the whole offseason, we thought they would have a pretty great defense. Is that still the belief?
In a word, no. Yeah. And I was skeptical before the season when all the talk, we're losing 2 first-round draft choice at tackle, and we're supposedly not going to miss a beat there. I was never buying that. And I think the most overrated position group that we have on the team is the linebacker group. I watched Jimmy Rolder totally whiff on Mateer on one play. I mean, it was ridiculous how bad he missed him. And like I already talked about Ernie Hausman, and Barham's really just become a defensive end, right? He can't cover anybody out on the field. All they have him doing now is blitzing. So, I think Cole Sullivan's coming on. I like that. I think Curtis is kind of playing that hybrid safety linebacker role. I like that. But I don't know that, they don't cover well. They don't rush well. They don't, they gave up. I mean, I don't know. I think that Oklahoma was like over 50% on third down conversions, right? And they ran on a bunch of those where they just ran the quarterback, So I'm not really sold on the defense. And the zero pressure, that's the most disappointing part. Over the last few years, our defensive ends have got a ton of pressure on the quarterback, and we don't look anything like we did the last 3 or 4 years. Even last year, we were much better rushing the passer last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dane, are we in a worse position?
And against the run with, Jenkins in there, or not Jenkins, but I'm having a brain fart.
And Mason Graham?
Mason Graham, yeah.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Grant. Yeah, those two. With those two in there, I mean, People weren't running it up the middle very, very well. And we saw some of that. Although, they only had like 3 yards per carry themselves. If you take out the 74 yards from what their quarterback Mateer was able to do, they were only, 3 yards per carry. So there wasn't nothing great. But yeah, I have questions on defense now too. That I think the defensive line is a downgrade from last year. The edge rush not as good also. Now, remember last year too, we struggled in the beginning and then we came on strong at the end. So I don't know. I'm hoping, the corners are going to be okay. I heard Shamari Earls is coming back. Who else? There was a pretty positive injury report today coming from Moore where it sounded like some people were coming back.
Rod Moore is going to be back.
Rod Moore should be back for Central. But when you look at Oklahoma receivers were open all day. I mean, he could Mateer. A couple of times we did get some pressure on him. He just threw it up in the air. These receivers were open. He just threw in their general direction.
Yeah.
So
our defensive backs were going, "Oh my God, I can't believe he threw that." Well, he's a quarterback. That's what
hold on a sec, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So, we've already covered it. We've touched on it. The offensive line got pushed around a lot. We've said that, and it seems like to be the narrative after the game. So we gonna have problems with the offensive line once again? Is this going to be our weak spot for the team? I mean, we've got a lot to be negative about, but is this like the top of the list? Offensive line, Junko.
When I compare Sharon Moore, who was an offensive line coach, and now he's a head coach, to Jim Harbaugh as a head coach, I think the main difference I see between them is talent evaluation, right? I thought Jim, and when he was there, Michigan they were doing a great job of evaluating talent. That's why they had some of those great offensive line. Now, now these last 2 or 3 years really have all been Sharon's guys, right? And I don't see the offensive line having as much talent as we had before. And, Herbert left to go to the Chargers, our strength and conditioning coach. And I wonder if strength and conditioning plays a role in that as well. It's just, I don't know that this is true, but it just seems like there's too many coincidences here, right? Our line's not performing as well. Our strength and conditioning coach is gone. We're not getting the same talent we had before, but we got the same offensive line coach. I don't know. The offensive line does not look good to me this year. It didn't look good to me last year. I don't care how many 5-star guys you get. These guys all at the end of the day got to learn how to block. And Grant Newsome, in my opinion, should not be here at the end of the year. I think he's had his opportunity. He's the common denominator in all this stuff. He should be gone. They got to go and get a really dynamic. It's Michigan, right? We don't need a graduate assistant playing the offensive line role when the offensive line's failing. Let's go get a real offensive line coach. Yeah.
Dane, what do you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, they did miss a lot of blocks. They couldn't pick up the blitzes now. Did we keep the running backs in to pick up blitzes? But I saw a lot of not just the offensive line players, but others, receivers, tight ends, missing blocks. I mean, just totally, these guys are just running right by us. And the offensive linemen were guilty of that in a number of instances where they just totally miss a blocker. They're just barely getting an elbow on them as they're coming through. Now, how are you not? I mean, what the snap count. They shouldn't know the snap count. You should be ready. And it just looked like they weren't. I mean, Oklahoma's getting off that line so quick. Now, maybe they're just a lot quicker. And it certainly looked that way on Saturday.
One other thing, Bob, before we move on to the next one, is that we've been tough on the offensive line, but it's not all their fault. Right. Like I said, Oklahoma's got a ton of guys at the line of scrimmage. You can't block them all, and the running backs got to pick up some guys. And our running backs are not the guys we had last year either. And those guys do not block it as well as Corum and Haskins and Edwards and those guys
You went
they
way back.
block it a lot better. Well, just a couple
Or
years
Mullings.
there.
I mean, Mullings was a good blocker. Yeah.
Mullins was a good blocker, right?
Yeah.
But these guys are not those guys, and so it's a combination thing, right? It isn't just the offensive line; it's quarterback protection.
Right.
It's the running backs, it's the tight ends, it's everything. And what I wondered a couple times during the game this week is when you're struggling with the offensive line and you got all these guys at the line of scrimmage, why not take a play or two where you do max protect? We keep everybody in but 2 receivers, right, to block. Give Underwood a little time. Let him throw a couple of deep balls out there to those guys, right? I mean, fake the tunnel screen and let it go deep. And we never max protected at any time during the game, and I was shocked by that.
But there has to be an answer when they load the box. There's got to be a play to be called, right? There's something there when they load the box. They've got all those guys up. Somebody's got to be able to get it in the open, and it's a quick slant and something. But we never had an answer for it. We just sat there and took it.
Yeah, we just stood there and took it, right?
Yeah, we did.
Well, I hate to be so gloom
I'm getting
and
so
doom.
depressed.
I was just going to say, man, we are really going down a dark tunnel here. It's just the second game. They're 1-1. It is a loss. So let's assess how damaging this loss is to the season aspirations. So Dane, take a look ahead at the other games on the schedule and just real quickly, what do you see are must wins?
Well, I truly think that we played a top 10 team there. I truly do. I know they didn't move up that far up in the rankings. 13, I think maybe is where they ended up.
13.
But when I look at some of those teams that are top 10, Illinois, number 9, you really think Illinois can take Oklahoma? I don't think so. And there are a couple others in the top 10 that I think Oklahoma could probably beat. So I think actually we did play a true top 10 team there. I think they're going to, now they have a tough schedule in the SEC. The SEC, is pretty tough. So we'll see how they do down the road. But when you look ahead, I think other than Ohio at the end of the year, we don't play anyone that has the talent even near Oklahoma, I don't think. When you look at Nebraska, they barely beat Cincinnati. They blew out their first, opponent, but they barely beat Cincinnati.
They smoked Akron this week like 69-0 or something.
Yeah, but Cincinnati, they only beat 20-17. Akron is not a good MAC team, okay? Maybe they should have played Ohio. Ohio is a good MAC team. No, I mean Ohio University is a good MAC team.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then we've got USC out there. Both Nebraska and USC are away games, so that makes it a little iffy. USC hasn't played anybody either. I mean, they're scoring a lot of points, but they haven't played anybody. So when I look, if we can get that offensive line to improve, we turn Bryce loose, please, and the receivers continue to improve, and maybe we do something with that secondary. A switch gets flipped where they're playing a little better. I think we potentially could win out. Getting to Ohio. Now, Ohio is going to be another interesting game, but and all these games in between probably will be too. But I think we could potentially win all the rest of the games and then up to Ohio, see what the feeling is at that point.
See, some optimism. Junko.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm optimistic that we're going to cream Central this weekend.
There you go.
Right? I feel pretty optimistic about that. They're terrible. God, are they bad?
Yeah.
They had 3. I think they only had 49 yards rushing against Pitt, and like 38 of that 49 came from their quarterbacks. So I don't think they're going to give us much of a fight, and this would be a good game. So, to answer the first question, Bob, they got to beat Nebraska. They got to beat USC. Those are the 2 big games season, and also they got to beat MSU on the road.
Yeah.
So, and MSU looked decent yesterday. I watched them play BC, and they won that game. And they deserved to win that game, and they looked good in some spots doing it. So they're going to need to win those 3. The rest of the games look like gimmies to me, to be honest. That Maryland's terrible. Wisconsin doesn't look very good. There's a number of other games. Northwestern's horrible. So they'll probably win those. But Nebraska coming up, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, is going to be a really huge game for Michigan.
Yeah,
it's going to be a
definitely.
bigger game for Michigan than it will be for Nebraska.
Sure. So Oklahoma's in the rearview mirror, right? And like you say, we've got the next 2 games coming up. But I don't know. You might want to change your thoughts on the Central game with knowing Sharon Moore's out. Does that change anything, Junko?
We may do better.
He said sarcastically.
Bob, you could coach them this weekend and they'd win by 5 touchdowns. All right.
No, not possible.
Oh yeah, possible, very possible.
I'd be looking for the Dippin' Dot stands. Was what I'd be doing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you'd have to run out all the way from the tunnel to the sideline, which would be.
Oh, I'd be totally winded.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not sure that's doable. So
okay, so let's. I don't want to overlook Central, but let's kind of take the 2 games together. We'll do a deeper dive next week on Nebraska, but with a loss, coming off of a loss, going into Central, tell us what they need to do, Dane.
They
show up.
Yeah.
Show up.
No,
get
yeah.
healthy.
I mean, I think, the defense needs to work on a few things. Offensive line needs to work on a few things. I mean, it'll be a good morale booster, I think, because they'll be able to do just about anything they want to do. I see them being very conservative. They're going to do a lot of running. They're not going to turn Bryce loose. They certainly don't want him to get hurt in the Central game. I mean, if they didn't want him to get hurt in Oklahoma, that big of a game, they certainly don't want something to happen in, sorry,
That's
in that
Sharon Moore
game.
calling you.
Sure, he's pissed, man. He doesn't like what we're saying right now. But anyway, I think it's going to be a good morale booster, but we're not going to see anything special out of Bryce. Now, they may air it out, give him a chance to really, throw it downfield finally, maybe. I think I see some passes to the tight ends. I think Klein might be back. And by the way, where was Hansen? That was weird. He didn't. I guess he was on the field on Saturday, but nothing got thrown to him. Anyway, so I think Central is a nice tune-up game. Nebraska will be a test on the road. Raiola, their quarterback, of course, he was a true freshman last year, and now he's got a year under his belt, so he's playing better. Everybody wants to make a big deal out of Nebraska. I guess I don't see it, but it's certainly we've got to play well to beat them.
So, Junko, let me take this at a different angle for you. With Central, is this a game where they can say, okay, we're going to take the reins off of Underwood and let them see what we can do? Just like fly. Let's see where your talents can go. It's your 3rd game. What can you do without us having constraints on you? What do you think they were going to do with Underwood?
So, Bob, remember when they built that nuclear bomb, right?
Fat
and
boy.
They took it out in the New Mexico desert to set it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why did they do that? Because they didn't want to be dropping that bomb over, Japan and having the thing not work.
Right.
Right. And the same thing is true of Bryce Underwood. How are you going to know if he can throw the deep ball unless he throws one? Why not? This is a test game, right?
Yeah.
Why not use this test game to test some things? Throw the ball down the field. Let him get comfortable with a couple of long balls. Put something on film for Nebraska to think about.
Right.
Right. I mean, they already know we're going to run the ball. We're not surprising them there. We're going to run the ball against Nebraska, but show them that we can throw the ball. So give them something else to prepare for. Make them maybe think, well, maybe we really can't put our linebackers at the line of scrimmage because this kid really can throw it deep. And I think Bryce needs to see himself do it a couple of times in a Michigan uniform.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should throw the ball a lot in this game against Central. I hope they do.
I would agree, and I think get a huge lead in their first half, and let's get Jane Davis in there. Let's get some others in there, give them some playing time, because they really they need that playing time. So I think hopefully they see some of that.
Have you heard anything lately on Mike Keene, Dane? Is there anything?
Still nursing the injury, not ready to come back. Yeah, that's what I read today. Was he's still not ready? Actually said, well, maybe he's looking at redshirting this year and coming back next year, but I don't know.
How does Michigan make that mistake in the offseason?
That was a huge. Yeah, I don't know if he was injured when he came over or not, but not.
That's borderline incompetent.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of borderline incompetent, Dane, it's time for the highlight of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It is useless but interesting trivia with our good friend, Blue Dane Williams. Have at it.
Hey, yeah. So, I like to talk about the team we're about to play. And our good friend, Ernest, actually is a Chippewa, or is like he likes to say, fire up chips. So, he went to CMU a few years back. But anyway, did you know that their first season was before the turn of the century, the last century? So 1896 was their first season. They did win a national title when they were in Division II in 1974. Another interesting fact, they have the largest on-campus stadium in the Mid-American Conference at 32,885 seating capacity.
Right now
they've had some. Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. Largest in the MAC. Notable players. Maybe you heard of this guy, Antonio Brown.
Right.
He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. Remember this guy, Gary Hogenboom?
Hogaboom.
Yeah.
Sure did. Played for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. 1979 graduate. What else was it? He was on a TV show. Do you remember this? Do you guys watch Survivor?
Is this the trivia?
No, but he was a contestant. He was a contestant on Survivor, and I think I remember watching some of those episodes. And he was sitting there going, "Well, I don't want to tell them, that I'm a quarterback because they may think I'm special." Blah blah blah. Yeah, I remember that when it came up. I remembered he was on there.
Yeah,
and then another guy.
I love Survivor. I love Survivor, but I don't remember Hogaboom on there. I remember a Brad Culpepper on there, but anyway.
Okay, yeah.
We digress.
Thomas Rawls. Remember Thomas? Played for Michigan.
Played for Michigan.
Yeah, played for Michigan and went to Central. And then he went on to the pros, and he was a running back for New York Jets and the Seahawks. Okay. Now, with the Seahawks, he had some records. Thomas said the most single-game rush yards by a rookie running back at 209. He had the most rush yards by an undrafted rookie in his first 6 games at 711. And he also holds the Seahawks record for most yards in a postseason game at 161. Now, when he ran for 161 in that postseason game, was it against Dallas in 2018-2019 season, Detroit the 2016-2017 season, or Philadelphia in the 2019-2020 season?
I'm going to go Dallas.
I'm going to go Philadelphia.
Since I put Detroit in there, I thought for sure you'd say Detroit. Anyway, it was Detroit. In the 2016-2017. And I was actually
I would have remembered that.
I was actually at that game. Corbin bought tickets, and when he was living out in Seattle, and we actually went to that game, and I watched him lose and watched Thomas Rawls run for 161 yards. There you go.
Wow. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
I think my trivia is getting longer and longer and longer.
Man.
I think I'm losing you guys, I think.
It seemed like a whole season of Survivor.
And didn't he sing that song, You'll Never Find?
Lou Rawls.
Wasn't that him?
That was Lou Rawls, yeah. Also running backers.
Yeah. Same guy, right?
Yeah. He might have been a nephew of him.
Lions. We must. A disappointing 27-13 game, and really it probably wasn't even that close. It's only one game, right? And to be honest, this group here, I'm looking at you guys, we all predicted that Green Bay was going to win this game. We all had different reasons why, but to see our team overwhelmed, unprepared. He's seemingly stunned by what the Packers were throwing at us. It was really more than I could stomach as I watched their Sunday afternoon. But the trenches is where I think we lost that game. It did us in. Defense couldn't get to Jordan Love, and he just seemed to always convert third downs whenever he wanted to. And our offensive line was not giving Goff enough time and not making any holes for Gibbs and Montgomery, so we couldn't get anything going offensively. But odd part about it is Goff had a pretty good game, good completion percentage. Receivers caught the ball well. Turnovers weren't the issue. But why was our offense so stagnant? And I know Junko loves to bring this up, but could that have been the offensive coordinator? Could it have been John Morton? Huh, Junko?
Wasn't it you last week who said?
I did.
What you repeat? Tell us what you said.
I said the coordinators don't play the game, and I said that it wouldn't be that big a deal. Yes, sir.
But didn't you also say that Ben Johnson wasn't the reason the Lions were so successful on offense? That it was Dan Campbell's offense before Ben Johnson got there. Was that you?
I did
or
say
that somebody
that.
else who said
I did say
Yes.
that, but I would tell you that I do give Ben Johnson the credit for being very creative and unpredictable. I didn't say that last week, but I'm giving him credit for it.
So we're recording this on Monday, and Ben Johnson plays tonight on Monday Night Football.
Correct.
So we'll get a chance to look at him tonight, the first time as the Bears coach. And I'm going to guess that they're probably going to play well and win tonight. That's my guess against the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy, who's a green quarterback. So this is going to be a very interesting Monday Night Football
It'll
game.
be a good game.
Personally. Yeah, right. But and I disagreed with you last week, Bob. I said Ben Johnson I thought was a difference maker, and I still think that. I hear something in the background. You guys hear that?
I do.
Yeah.
No,
Don't know why.
I don't. I don't hear anything. No.
Oh, interesting. I thought maybe Dane's other personality was talking to us. Or
I think he's
something.
watching Survivor.
Oh, is that what it is?
That rerun. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Ben Johnson being gone was a big deal, and I think it showed last night or yesterday afternoon in the game. There were a lot of things that went wrong yesterday, though. It wasn't just the offense, and I think you said, Bob, Goff really wasn't the problem yesterday. And you know me, I've been tough on Jared Goff, but I didn't think Goff was the problem yesterday. I thought the problem was definitely the offensive line.
Well, I think the lack of execution in the red zone was things that could have changed the tide, and that just
but they couldn't run the ball,
No,
and that's why you don't have that execution.
Very, very stale.
They only had
play
46
calling.
yards rushing.
Right, exactly.
46 yards rushing.
So Dane, I mean, I'm going to say that continuity is a big deal, but it's too early to tell. How do you see the offensive coordinator in this and the Lions offense as a whole?
Well, yeah, I guess we'll get to the defense later, but the offensive line didn't look that great. They, especially the run blocking. I mean, Goff still had 225 yards passing, so an okay day for him. But rushing 46 yards between Gibbs and Montgomery, I mean, that was just something else. Now, the Packers only rushed for 78 yards, so it's not like they blew it away. And Love only had 188 total yards. So when you look at the stats, it's like, how did the game feel so lopsided as we were watching it? Mm-hmm. And I think you were right. I think the way that we stalled out when we were getting close, or getting close to the red zone, or we just didn't seem to have that extra push, or we were running it when we should have been passing it, I think, which I think was a mistake from a coordinator standpoint. Yeah.
I find it interesting that he's in the booth this year and Ben Johnson was always on the sideline. Just an observation.
Yeah, he was up in the booth, wasn't he? Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. I actually prefer the coordinators to be up in the booth. I think you get a better view up there.
Okay.
and I think you get isolated and you can really call the game better. Sometimes on the sidelines, I think there's too much distractions,
Okay, good
you
point.
know. But,
Good
it
point.
worked for Ben Johnson. So,
We'll see. I mean, like I said, game one, Lions have started 1-1 the past 3 seasons, and they've done pretty well. So, but I do see some problems on defense. Kelvin Shepard is the new defensive coordinator. What do you think, Junko? Do you like what you saw, or what do you have to say about it?
once again, Bob, I'm going to ask you, was it you that said that Brad Holmes said, didn't Brad Holmes say, we don't need another defensive end? Wasn't that Brad Holmes that said that?
Yeah, he said that. I didn't agree with it, but yeah, he said that.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you pointed that out. I think that's a terrific take, is that, what the hell was he, whatever he's spoken, I want some of that, because we had no pass rush last year. Yeah, we got Hutch back, but Hutch doesn't look like Hutch. He didn't look like Hutch this week, for sure.
Well, they keyed on him. I think they were double teamed.
He was double and triple teamed at times.
Right. But the notion that we didn't need a bookend on the other side of him either way is ridiculous.
Arrogance. Arrogance.
Arrogant. And just almost, again, general manager malpractice, right? Everybody in the league knows that it doesn't matter how good or bad Terry and Arnold is, and he's not very good. But even if he was bad, the less time that the quarterback has to throw in his direction, the better off he's going to fare.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Yeah, you got to rush the passer. That was the worst exhibition of pass rush that I've ever seen the Detroit Lions have in all the years that I've watched them. He just sat back there and picked them apart. Ridiculous. Terrible.
Well, you talk about pass rush, and it was the Packers pass rush that caused that interception of Goff, because he didn't see, I forgot who was coming in, but St. Brown was open, but man, the guy was cutting right in front of him, and easy interception, and then drive over, right? So, Dane, let's get back to defense. What did you think there?
Yeah, I agree. And then Arnold, man, he was horrible. He got on that two-play touchdown by Green Bay. He was burned twice, man. It was bad. Not even close. And they picked on him a lot, and they should. Go ahead.
And then he got hurt and went out of the game.
Yeah, then he got
right?
hurt. I got a groin injury.
Yeah,
I got a groin injury.
Thank you. All I could say to him at that point was thank you.
I know, but Green. I don't know. I don't think we had any sacks.
No. We were one of 3 teams that had 0 sacks.
Yeah,
over the weekend.
I don't know. I just the D. Yeah, I'm not at all impressed with the D. I was a little concerned yesterday going into that game with the D anyway, and then I think, Junko, I agree. Last week you said we need Hutch to be Hutch, and Hutch looked very tentative. He was like backing off, like he didn't want anybody to touch his legs, right? So it was, maybe he'll come around. It was just that first game back, and he didn't play any of the preseason, of course. So maybe we'll see.
Which again, not playing any other starters during the preseason in a game where you don't score any points in the first half.
Yeah, I was going to cover that. Yeah. I was going to cover that in the next section, but yeah, you're right.
Well, let's go. Well, let's go there now.
Well, no. First of all, I just want to bring up the defensive penalties that were killer. Branch ripping off the helmet of that guy we got called there. I think a touchdown got called back because of I forgot it was.
Oh no, you're thinking about the interception that Branch ran in for the touchdown.
Yeah. That's right.
That got called back. That called back for 2 penalties.
Illegal contact.
2 penalties, and Hutch slammed Love to the ground, and then it was illegal contact at the beginning.
But at least they would have kept the ball on that penalty. The other penalty was a stupid penalty because it wasn't even in the play, right?
I know.
Right.
And then Dan Campbell, right, with mistakes.
I know your favorite, Anzalone, dropping that obvious, that easy interception that could have been a pick six. He had a lane open if he would have just gotten that ball, and it right in his breadbasket. But anyway, so let's get back to it. The Jimmy and Joe question again. did Green Bay have the better overall personality, or was Detroit just not showing up? And that's where I put the thing about them agreeing to your point that they should have played some downs in the preseason, maybe a quarter in the third preseason game. They could have had the starters in just to get the rhythm and the speed of actual competition. Junko, I know. Let me hear what you got to say about that.
No, we totally agree on that, Bob.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week. I'm
Right.
saying, what do you mean he's not going to play the starters again? I mean, that's ridiculous. You got to give those guys a chance. Just 2 or 3 series where they go down and get some offensive rhythm. Where they
Right.
play at real game speed. I think I think that's a big coaching error. And I think Dan Campbell's a lot of good things. There's a lot of things I appreciate him for. I appreciate for his toughness and and the fact that. He's really pushing players to be the best players they can be. But I think he makes a lot of tactical errors, and I think that was another one of them. And then, here's the other thing too, is that Dan Campbell teams are good on the offensive and defensive line, right?
Mhm.
That's his trademark. He wants to be a tough team. He wants to win in the trenches. And they lost on both sides of the ball this week to Green Bay. So to get to the question is who's got the better Jimmys and Joes? I'm going to say Green Bay had better energy. They played harder. They played less scared than we did. If I had to say it, I would probably say, yeah, it looked like they had better talent than we did.
Dane?
I think they had the 12th man too. I mean, that crowd was fired up, and they were fired up. Every time Micah Parsons came into the game, it was like, and and I don't know if that got to the Lions. They're pros; they've heard this before, but
Come on.
that really did fire up, I think, the pack. Now, we must have felt something last week, right? We must have felt like Detroit may come out a little flat here because we all picked the Packers, right? Not a single one of us picked the Lions. So we had this, little thing going off in our noodles saying, I don't know. I think they might be a little flat.
I thought they'd show
Otherwise,
up.
we would have picked Detroit, huh?
But didn't you think they'd show up at least, like put on a better game than that?
I thought they would definitely do a little bit. Offense would definitely do a little better. Defense, I think, was always suspect in my mind.
Yeah.
But I thought the offense definitely would do better.
But you know what, guys?
I thought they would lose because they didn't play in the preseason. I thought they'd start slow as a result. And
they'd be
did.
flat.
Well, back to your point about not playing in the preseason. You've got 2 new major coordinators. Don't you think that maybe you can get like a rhythm for how they communicate or how they're going to call it, just to get an idea of like a familiarity of it, because they're brand new. And so all of a sudden your first game in Lambeau Field is like right out of the gate. That is basically your preseason for your starters. And this one counts though. So that's why I thought that would have been a real good thing to do, just having them out in the field in the preseason. Dane, what'd you think of that? You think it's preseason or no? We're making too much of it.
I would, as professionals that are practicing every single day, are taking reps every single day, I wouldn't think it would have that much of an impact
at
because
half or 3/4 speed, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and but they're only going to play a quarter anyway if they're playing preseason. But
for sure,
Junko's got a point. I think maybe that's part of the reason why they came out sort of flat. I mean,
you can
it's a
blame
good
that
theory,
as much as anything,
but it is a theory.
So we mentioned that tonight we've got the Vikings and the Bears. We play the Bears next week in Detroit, our home opener. Dane, why don't you give us a little preview of the offense, and then we'll throw it over to Junko for the defense.
Yeah, so Chicago offense, I said it all last year that I didn't think Chicago was as bad as their record showed. They had some last-minute losses, some famous or infamous last-second losses, including Thanksgiving Day in Detroit, where they didn't call the timeout, and we ended up winning, but maybe shouldn't have. So I think they're a pretty darn good team. Of course, they've got Caleb Williams, the quarterback. He's going to be good again this year. They got Ben Johnson, right? our offensive coordinator, now their head coach, and I see him calling a good game. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of input into that offense. They solidified their O-line play. They picked up a couple of guys. They picked up Joe Thuney from KC, left guard there. Drew Dahlman, who's a center, who played with the Falcons. And then they got Jonah Jackson, who actually used to play for the Lions not too long ago as a guard. So they've shored up that line a little bit because they had some issues with their offensive line last year. Of course, through the draft, they picked up Colston Loveland. So they've got a nice tight end there. What's that look for, Junko?
Nothing. I've just
I thought I said his name incorrectly.
no. You're doing good.
And then they picked up Luther Burden from Missouri. He had a nice 2023 season, led the team with 83 receptions for 1,197 yards. He's a wide receiver. So that offense, I think, is going to be pretty darn good. The good thing is we're playing at home, is what I got to say about that game.
Yeah, their defense looks like it looked last season. I don't think they made a lot of great additions to the defense. They've got a good pass rush. They got Montez Sweat and Olga. I always can't say this guy's name, but Oladipo, the defensive end. So those guys are nice bookends out there, and they're going to put some pressure on Goff. But their defense is a lot like the Lions. It's a lot of no-name type of guys. They're solid up the middle. Both of their safeties, Brisker and Bynard, are both pretty good players. But overall, I would say they're a middle of the road defense in the NFL, and probably I would say probably tied with the Lions for the worst in our division in terms of defense.
I was going to say in terms of defense. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, as far as our predictions go, we all mentioned it, right, Dane? We all picked them to lose last week, right?
That's
so
correct.
We turned the corner. We put that in our rearview mirror, and we move on to predict the score for this weekend's home opener. At Ford Field, 1:00. The Lions are favored by 4.5 points. Dane, why don't you lead us off with your prediction?
So I think the Lions are going to come out a little more explosive. I think the running game will be rediscovered. So I think we've got a good chance of winning this one. I'm going to pick the Lions 35-28.
Ooh, big score.
Big score.
Junko.
Yeah, they just scored 13 points, and you think you're going to score 35 next week?
They're going to open it up. They're going to be
You
pissed.
think so? Well, they better be.
I've
got the Lions winning 27-24, and the difference in the game for me is the home field advantage. I mean, that's pretty much where I have it. And I don't really feel prepared to make that pick right now because I haven't seen Ben Johnson's Bears, which I'm going to see tonight. So tomorrow ask me again, and I might feel differently about it.
Yeah, true.
But right now, I'm really interested to see how much the creativity of the Bears offense tonight on Monday Night Football. This is such a great game because JJ's on one side and you got Ben Johnson on the other. Great. It's a great night for Lions fans who, for Detroit fans who had just a horrible weekend, right?
Yeah.
At least we get a bonus on Monday night. So, the 13s that are over, let's get those things out of here.
Yeah,
never want to see that number 13.
This may be tonight's game might be our antidote, or at least a little bit of salve to put on our wounds, right?
There's 400 millions in the Mega Millions lottery tonight or tomorrow night, and I'm going to get the Powerball with the 13 key number on the end.
Oh, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be the home opener. I think the crowd's going to be behind them. I hope the real Lions will show up. Defense has to do a good job of keeping Caleb Williams contained, and then Hutch needs to have a big game. I'll say he will have a big game. And I don't really think Ben Johnson's going to call up some real razzle-dazzle. The team's too young. They just started. It takes a little bit of gelling.
It's Monday Night Football, man.
I know.
This is what you save it for.
No, he's not going to. I mean, he's not going to be, Sharon Moore. But I mean, I think he's going to have maybe a couple things up his sleeve, but maybe not a lot of hook and ladders. Maybe one. We'll see. But I see Lions winning 26-21 over the Bears. All right. So now it is time for that Lions trivia that we love so much. And of course, you know what? We didn't mention Isaac Tesla, that last play in the closing minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Hell of a catch. Almost a touchdown that wasn't, but the replay clearly showed it was in. That was, of course, his first NFL touchdown, and it was on opening day. So I thought, who would have been, and this would have been recent history, right? Who was the last Lions rookie to score a touchdown on opening day? So, boys, was it Jahmyr Gibbs in 2024, Brian Branch in 2023, or Amon-Ra St. Brown in 2021?
Wow, that was tricky. You threw a defensive player in there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just to throw you off the scent.
There's got to, you know what? It's either complete trickery or it's got to be Branch, right? And so I'm going. I don't think he's clever enough to get me with the trickery, so I'm going with Branch.
You are overthinking this, buddy. Yeah, I was going to go with Branch also. Yeah.
Although I think Gibbs did score a touchdown in his first game too. So there you go.
It is Brian Branch.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I gave you two obvious ones, and then I thought, I'll go with the real answer in there. And
you should have gone with the fourth option and put another defensive player.
Yeah, you know what?
There,
That's true. No, it was.
Don't give him any ideas.
Jahmyr
Three's
Gibbs,
tough enough.
Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, in the first game he was featured in 24, scored, but it wasn't opening day. So, and then I just threw St. Brown because he seemed logical. But yeah, you guys nailed it this time. So good job. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Good show, guys. I want to thank everybody for listening, and know that the Lowdown team will be here for the entire 2025 and 2026 football season. Of course, I'll say it again, we're slightly changing our format a little bit to cover Michigan and Detroit Lions football pretty much exclusively. But of course, if some of our other teams are noteworthy, we'll bring that up and keep you up to date with that. To all our loyal listeners, just want to say thank you very much. And please remember to share our podcast with your Detroit sports friends. High five that subscribe button. That tells us, and more importantly, tells our sponsors that you like the show. This podcast is part of Junko Bodie Productions and an exclusive production of the Lowdown on Motown Sports Network. We will see you again on the next Lowdown on Motown Sports. See you guys.
See y'all.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Lowdown on Motown Sports Podcast. If you're liking what you're hearing, then why don't you do us a solid and rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show. And, we're pretty awesome, so why not share the awesomeness? We appreciate it. Again, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Lowdown on Motown Sports Podcast.